13A3 for the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, and invite road foreman Josh Dryden and town administrator Eileen Tulloch and Andrew Finnegan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to ask you all, please step outside for a minute.
We're going to go slower downstairs.
Sorry for the clutter, the Weston Playhouse is in here, and we weren't quite ready to get into the town office yet, but our next meeting hopefully will be. Item 3, additions or deletions to the agenda.
I do have one under old business, B, town hall renovation, consider change orders.
Town office, you mean, sorry.
Town office, did I say town hall? I did say town hall.
Which one is that?
11B would be.
We're deleting
Did I
it?
get a copy?
No, we're adding it.
Oh,
We already did
Did you?
Anyone care to make that motion?
It was
Oh,
on
you're
there,
adding.
and did you get an older one?
No,
Things moved fast last week.
I got it now, sorry.
Anyone care to make that motion?
I move to add 11B, change orders for town offices, to the agenda.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, minutes approval, meeting of 5/5/2025.
I move to approve the minutes of the select board meeting of 5/5/25.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5, select board pay orders.
I move to approve the pay orders for payroll and accounts payable.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 6, announcements and correspondence.
I have a couple. So town office renovations are finishing up. Internet and phone were installed last week, and desks were moved into offices, and we all vacated downstairs. So we're mostly fully over there. Some exterior painting is still occurring, and the parking lot still needs to be paved, so if you go up there, just be mindful that there's still large potholes and things. The building will get switched over to the new electrical service this Thursday, so town offices will be closed that day. And the trailer is leaving us tomorrow, is unhooked from the electrical, so it's gonna be gone off the property. That era is over. The website committee met with Revise to choose a template for the new website, and they will come back to us with a mock-up in about 3 weeks. Bids for the culvert work on Winhall Station Road went out last week. Bids are due on May 29th, no later than 2 p.m. And we received word today that the town has been approved for a highway structures grant for replacing the Windy Rise Lane culverts with a box culvert. So that's good news. We were number 8 on the list, but enough towns didn't take the money that we rose up, so that process keeps paying off.
How much was that?
200,000?
Yeah,
200?
I think so,
That would
yeah.
go a long way.
Yeah. Correspondence included in the board's meeting packet. Correspondence from the Chester Snowmobile Club thanking the select board for allowing a trail on town property, and to announce a barbecue on Saturday, May 31st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Chester Recreation Park. And a flyer from Esther Fishman about hazardous waste collection days. The first one of which is in June 7th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's a press release from Governor Scott declaring May 11th through 18th Inclusion Week in Vermont. There's a schedule for remaining town office work in the packet, and then there was an email concerning the short-term ordinance from Mike Long.
And I'd like to just ask the public to be patient with us over the next couple months while we move in. They'll be trying to figure out where stuff is put, and it'll be a process. So thank you for that.
Just real quick, one, I'm not quite on the TNet channel yet, somebody asked about that, and we will be doing that. And our streaming is a little bit distorted right now as far as I know, but I'm getting a new unit for next meeting, so we should be good after that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Ally, anything from town office?
Nope, just bear with us. Our hours might shift a little bit, just again with the move in and what we have available, and we're there. Every certain doors may not be operational at times, so just poke around, walk around, we'll find you.
And there probably will be another day of closures at least for paving.
For paving as well, yep.
So, yeah.
Item 8, town officials business. 8A, village wastewater. 81, approve village wastewater ordinance.
Did we do visitors
7.
and concern? Yeah, we did
Sorry,
do
yeah,
7.
Nope, 7 was
7
skipped
yet.
over, sorry. Item 7, visitors and concerned citizens. Sorry about that. See no hands.
Looks like Vin Diesel's coming.
Now we're on to item 8, town officials business. 8A, village wastewater committee. 8A1 is approved village wastewater ordinance.
That's on short schedule, so I'll let you go. Here, I can come up to the front row here. Thanks, Gary. So I can speak to the ordinance, so I know we've met with the select board at a couple meetings over the last few months about the ordinance. The ordinance has been reviewed by the town attorney, and he's given it kind of a go-ahead for the select board to adopt the ordinance. One thing I do want to mention, since the last time I was in attendance at the select board meeting, working with Chrissy at Dufresne Group, she did catch one small little correction that we fixed on page, if you happen to have a copy of it, on page 26 of the ordinance. This is regarding pre-treatment requirements for certain types of users that are going to be connected to the system. Section 16, paragraph 2 is regarding when interceptors are required. So if that's a grease, oil, air interceptor, depending on the type of use that's connected to the system. Chrissy alerted me that the draft that we had last looked at stated that when it was in the opinion of the board, the select board, they could require an interceptor be added. But she just recommended adding the language "or is required by state regulations" because typically that's something that's going to be required by the state, and it's really not up to the discretion of the board whether or not to require that. So just adding that "or is required by the state regulations" addresses that concern. That's the only very minor change that was made since the last time I was meeting with the board. So at this point, I think the ordinance has been reviewed and is ready for adoption. As we've talked about, the next phase of this project is to start getting formal connections from property owners, and an important part of that will be sharing a copy of the ordinance with those property owners so they understand the roles and responsibilities of the town and them as a user of the system. So, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we've had a couple of meetings to look at the ordinance.
Anybody else believe the ordinance has been looked over by lawyers, our lawyer, and many other lawyers, by the sounds of it?
I appreciate the extra eyes on it for sure.
Yes.
It helps us with our decision making. I feel supported in that decision anyway.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for that? No questions? Anyone care to make a motion?
I'm happy to make a motion. I move to adopt the wastewater ordinance as presented. Such ordinance to take effect after 60 days unless a petition is filed as provided for under 24 VSA subsection 1973B.
Do we have a second? I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Moving on to A2, discuss wastewater fee schedule.
You want to read it?
I'm happy to, so.
Okay.
I know you might have that.
Yeah, do you want to start and I can?
Sure.
I can.
Thanks for having us this evening. At the May 5th meeting, I attended, and there was a brief discussion about the ordinance and about the fee structure. On the heels of that meeting, when Tom, you had expressed some concern about increasing fees to the residents of the town, to the taxpayers, that resonated with us as a working group. We've been working on this committee for a couple of years now, and we called a special meeting last week to really get to the heart of why we feel that there's a compelling argument to spread the debt service across the grand list. Somewhere along the way, we presented the select board with a table that showed a sliding scale, 0, 50, and 100%. And I think looking back on things now, I'm not sure that that was necessarily a helpful tool for the select board to see. I think it was probably developed by RCAP in helping communities such as Londonderry start at the process, and we're fairly far along. And I would point to last March's bond votes as all the evidence that the select board needs that the town is behind this. By fairly significant majorities. For the North Village, it was 232 to 134. For the South Village, it was 228 to 136. That was for 282,000 bond for the North Village and 515,000 for the South Village. So I regret that we may have, caused a little bit of confusion in that process. But what I don't regret is all the work that the committee's done over the last couple of years. And as Matt mentioned, we're kind of at a very critical point in this project where we need to get the best reliable information that we have to date out to the potential users of this system so that we can start to get those permit connections filled out so that we can finish the permitting with the state, so that we can put it out to bid, so that we can actually get shovels in the ground. We're basically, in a very advantageous position where we're putting in a dime and getting out a dollar, for lack of a better term. So I, along with Corey, he's on the wastewater committee with us as well, we felt that it was, important to put some of those thoughts on paper on the heels of our meeting last Thursday. And Eileen, I think you were able to distribute those to the select board, even though we got them to you a little bit late.
They're in their packet. I don't know if they had a chance to read them.
And
this morning.
I apologize for the tardiness there, but we're all we're all busy and we're trying to, wear a couple of different hats here. I think that it's valuable to look at this project in the light of other projects that have benefits to an entire municipality that might only be enjoyed by a few. Similar to the town roads crews never setting foot on some of the back roads. I live up on Magic. I'm not sure that the town does much of that way. The culvert improvement projects that the town takes on as a whole certainly benefit those that live on those roads the most. And I'm not saying that any of those projects or expenses aren't worthwhile. They certainly are. That's the whole point of the social contract, the social context of being in a town and being a taxpayer. There's a lot of taxpayers in this town that can't vote and probably have very little knowledge of the inner workings and the actual expenses here. So with that, I would just add that, there's folks that wish to hook up to this system that have a septic that's perfectly functioning now, but recognize that 15, 20 years from now, because of their position relative to the floodplain, relative to their neighbor's drinking water well, relative to their own drinking water well, they may not be able to afford to install a system 20 years from now. They may not be able to afford it, 10 years from now. The state does have, revolving loan programs for private homeowners. But at the same time, we have an opportunity with the significant federal funding to short circuit all that, to circumvent that, and to give these folks a level of certainty with their wastewater that they'll never have. It'll mean a reoccurring cost to them, of course, but there's the benefit of having a system that's maintained by the town and is going to be there likely for the rest of their lives. The last thing I would just hit on real quick is what I just mentioned. You're all familiar with the Vermont septic regulations and drinking water well regulations, right? There's protective shields around drinking water wells where you don't want to have certain things going on. The idea that there's folks in this town that are potentially drinking, water that is not necessarily up to par. I'm not trying to scare anybody or instill fear, but the reality is in dense areas, that's exactly what's happening. We also have direct input to the West River. The regular sampling that goes on there has long indicated during the summer months particularly that we've got some water quality issues there. So there's an environmental benefit, there's an economic benefit, there's a social benefit. And I think that this project is certainly worthy of the Select Board's approval. And again, I would apologize once again for perhaps injecting some confusion into the ordinance, into the fee structure equation. So with that, be happy to take any questions.
I have one question. So this fee is just for the maintenance of the facility, correct? It doesn't have anything rolled in for the bond payment. The town's on the hook for the bond payment, correct?
And I'm sorry, Tom, are you looking at the three different scenarios?
I'm just saying, period. The bond payment is not taken into consideration with this here, correct?
Oh, in the ordinance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the fee structure.
Yeah, so with the ordinance, the fee structure would be approved separate from the ordinance. But the way it's set up so that, right, the town is responsible for the debt payment. You could structure it so that some or a portion of that gets passed on to the users.
Okay, thank you. And just to let everybody know, I tried to send around the video so everybody could see it, but GNAP's website wouldn't let me get to any Londonderry videos. At the board meeting of 1/9/23, minute 17:22, Gail Mann looks at Trevor Dryden and says to him that no one will pay for this system if you're not hooked up to the system. And I know Sharon said it too, but I couldn't find that video. So it's been put out there in public. And I think you opened your, people on that board opened their mouth prematurely, but I think you have to stick with what you have said.
So, Tom, I think I would just ask then, what was the meaning of the March 5th, 2024 vote?
The town meeting.
The town meeting vote where the bonds were approved.
Yeah, the bonds were approved. The town, everybody in town is paying that bond payment. So I think it's only fair that the users pay the user fee themselves. I mean, if you look at this, it's about $1,200 a year. That'll take you 40 years to get to what a new septic system would cost you. At least 40 years. It's about $40,000 at least for a new septic. And they're getting, the connection fee is free right now if you connect now, which is $20,000. So I think everybody's getting plenty out of it right now and should just pay. And I don't think it should be put on the grant list. They're already responsible for the bond payment. Just my thought.
So it's, the fee is set up, that we're discussing is the annual maintenance and operations are only paid by the people who are using it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And the debt is being, being proposed to be
Yeah.
spread around, that's the bond.
I do have the, this is the letter from Wyndham Regional, I
Yeah.
think, yeah. And just before the fee schedule there's a paragraph that says, the 3 different scenarios were developed for how the town could pay for debt service expenses.
Okay.
As shown in the table below, debt service could either be paid for entirely by assessing the grand list, so 100%, by the users of the system, or it could be split 50/50.
Well, that's what I was trying to ask.
So I think this
Yeah,
particular
this is debt
fee
service.
schedule
Yeah.
is got debt service built into it.
Okay.
Right.
I'd still say $116 a month. It's still 40 years. Well, if you add on the $20,000 connection fee, I mean, you're looking 40, 60 years of paying off a new septic system. So I don't see it being an issue. Having it 100% paid for by users.
That's also for a $250,000 house, and probably it's not a reasonable thing, so it's like probably twice that would be a reasonable assessed value.
And the fee on the taxpayers is double that too, probably, because that's based on $250,000.
It's $16. Yeah, so it would probably realistically be like 32 or something.
It's a hard time to put more taxes on people. And they're not going to be happy about it. I've heard that repeatedly.
But can I just ask, and maybe Matt knows the answer to this. There was, Chrissy shared with us an EPA ruling which sort of set a ceiling or a whatever in terms of what you can pass on to, or what you can ask individuals to pay based on the median income. And I think that was important and instructive at the last meeting, was it not?
Yeah, so this is information I got from the DEC. So these are EPA, they're recommendations, so it's not a strict requirement, but right, the EPA has set a recommendation that for someone connecting to a wastewater system, they shouldn't be paying more than 2% of their income towards the fees associated with that. And looking at, we have data on median household income for the entire town of Londonderry, but there's also data just for South Londonderry Village and North Londonderry Village. And for the median household income for South Londonderry, it's around $60,000, so that maximum 2% EPA limit is
$1,200.
well, yeah, $1,200 a year. And for North Londonderry, median household income is $29,250, so that 2% limit is $48.75 a month, so about $600 a year. Again, those are the EPA affordability recommendations. One of the concerns in trying to develop an appropriate fee level is, for some households, if it's $80 a month or $120 a month, it may not be a significant difference, but there are households where that is a big chunk of change. And so you may have households that elect not to connect to the system because of the monthly fee, and just continue to use the system that they have, hope that it serves them for long enough. And so that's just a concern for or consideration for the town, is setting a fee level that is not going to be so high that you have a lower rate of connection, and then you're not going to achieve maybe all those environmental benefits. And if there's a lower level of connection and you have more capacity that's not being used, we still have to pay for the annual operations and maintenance of the system, and if you have fewer people connecting, that cost, the town would have to make up the difference for that cost. Just things to consider.
Thank you.
If I may also add a couple of things that the reason, so I wrote that little one-page memo there that was submitted this morning. And so the thing that struck me the most when I was writing it was that I think that the entire town has an interest in having a vibrant village centers. And I think that it's less likely to be vibrant if people aren't investing, and people are less likely to invest if they don't have good access to long-term septic and sewer options. And if we really want to see people to continue to invest in our villages and make sure that they are places we want to go to, we want to have restaurants and we want to have services and retail happening in these locations, we need to make sure that we're, as a community, investing in these locations. And the other thing that really struck it to me was that I can't think of any other examples where in town where the users of a town service pay for that service. So like, I have a child at the playground, but there's not like an entry fee to the playground. Or like the pickleball courts, like we all pay for the pickleball courts, but not all of us use it. But we like to have pickleball courts in town because it creates a more vibrant community. It helps people be healthy. I think that it's a small price to pay, small relative to everybody, but I think that we all have an interest in making sure that we have septic availability in these areas. Otherwise, if we don't have this availability and it's not it's cost prohibitive, people won't be able to sign up, and the buildings are just going to go into disrepair. There will continue to be, septic wastewater in like the surface waters and then drinking waters of the area. I think that it's there's a village and a town benefit to all this. So that's my perspective.
It sounds like we're getting a lot of people hooking up to this according to your plans. When will we reach capacity? How many houses will be hooked to this thing when we reach capacity?
I don't know the exact numbers of all that. I would probably defer to.
Based on initial interest, and that's really why we're having this conversation, is all we've been able to gauge is initial interest. The design engineer has done door-to-door knocking, interviews, outreach, mailings. We're at or over capacity for both villages. So there is interest. What we haven't yet been able to do is put out a connection application with our best engineers, best planners' estimates on what the cost is going to be. So we're at this critical juncture here where in order to fully permit the project with the state, we need to get those signed connection applications. It's basically a memorandum of understanding with the town saying, yeah, we're going to connect. The connection fee, there is going to be no connection fee initially during the first phase. If folks waited 5 years to connect, it's going to be a very significant connection fee.
Is that a binding commitment?
So I'm not sure that it could be a binding commitment because, for instance, if you sign up, but then you decide to sell your house, that commitment runs with you. And Matt, you may be able to answer that better. I mean,
I don't believe it's a binding commitment.
Once you're hooked up, though, you can't go back to your old septic because your old septic. Yeah, that's the binding. That's the juncture at which it becomes very binding. But the state requires they require the application connection, the connection application in order to permit it.
Hypothetically, I could sign your thing, you put the connection to my house in the road right there, I could say no. 10 years down the road, I could say yes, and the connection's there.
Yes, except you'd be on the hook for 20 grand.
Probably more than that by then.
Yeah, who knows how much. Which you would not be liable for during construction of the system. So there's an incentive.
I don't understand 20 grand to go from the road to the house. A ditch in a pipe, I don't understand it.
But all the septic tanks are being replaced, there's pumping systems being put in at each of these residences, there's an alarm system that tells the town
Okay.
if there's any issues, so it's not just digging a line and tapping into it, it's a lot more.
So, okay, now I'm totally confused, so I'll just let it sit.
Just for clarification, it's a little confusing without having the paper in front of me so I can follow along. Are you discussing just the bond costs, or are you also potentially discussing splitting the regular maintenance costs with the whole town?
Well, that's what I was trying to ask, my first question.
Okay, I'll
Is
try
this fee, the bond plus the maintenance, or is it just maintenance? That's what I was
I'll
asking.
try to clarify. Sorry if I created confusion. So what I'm showing there is, in all scenarios, the users would pay 100% of the operation and maintenance of the system. All that we're talking about is the bond portion, and if it's covered 100% by the town, or if it's covered, or if it's split between them, or it's covered 100% by the users. But in all scenarios, the town would not be subsidizing individual properties' operation and maintenance costs. I did mention, like, if you're not reaching capacity, the town would still need to pick up the difference between where, like, what's actually connected to the system versus the full operation and maintenance cost. But we're not talking about the town paying for an individual property's operation and maintenance.
So what is the individual operating and maintenance cost by itself?
It's
Well,
about,
it's not the 74.67, it's gotta be less than that.
and I don't have the number in front of me.
Like 50 to 60?
I believe it was, that 74 number was just the,
That's what you have,
Monthly
everyone
user
in
fee.
town paying for the bond. So the maintenance has to be less than 74.
That wasn't broken out, maybe that's something.
That's where it gets confusing,
can I just take a look? So,
because it's gotta be less than that, because they're still paying the bond.
so this is,
Each individual is still paying on the
so I guess it's, yeah, so this is the monthly user fee.
I thought this was for, separate from the bond, but that's,
I did too.
I was confused.
This is, yeah, so this would be, under this scenario 3, it's 100% of the grand list is supporting the debt service. So each of those properties would be paying
They'd be paying
their
part of the
portion
debt
on their
service,
property
so,
tax bill.
so the actual maintenance fee is gonna be somewhere around 50 to 60 bucks, I think.
So that number there, the 74, is the operation and maintenance.
Plus the bond.
And then whatever,
I think the select board would benefit from this very discussion being sorted out and like confirmed for everybody's sake, right? Like, we're all.
You guys have said this includes the bond payment at the 100%, now you're saying it doesn't? I'm confused.
so that number, that 74,
Would include their maintenance fee plus their portion of the bond payment, the individual's portion of the bond payment.
Yes. That's my.
no, I think it's, so, because it's just the operation and maintenance cost that
Right.
are calculated, divided by the number of users, because that's $74, so. But if a property, if someone connected to the system is paying a property tax bill, and it's being covered by the grand list, then
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the actual operating and maintenance fee
Yeah.
per individual is without the bond
And
payment.
and that's what I'm saying, I think we can provide that.
I
It's,
think a lot of the stuff is just the operating and maintenance fee.
it's not
And
broken
I think
out, so-
what Matt was just touching on too is that part of the fee is in your taxes essentially, if you choose anything above 0%. And then you add to that the user fee of, I forget, maintenance and,
If
it's the
you are
cost of
hooked
using
into
it.
the system.
Right, it's the
Yes.
cost, the operational cost. It's not the capital investment in the system.
Correct.
It's just the yearly going forward. So that's an individual fee given to just the users, but underlying that is an increase in your taxes if we chose anything above 0%
Right.
contribution.
Yeah, the
I mean-
$16 in the right bottom box or cell is what the average person who has a $250,000 house is gonna pay for the debt service. They're not hooked up. The people who are hooked up are in the first column or the second column, and they're paying 74 because we're spreading the debt service cost
So
over.
they're paying
whole-
the 74 plus the 16 now.
Right, right. The 16 is for the non-user
Yeah, I get
brand
that part.
list participant, and that's the sort of social contract cost or value
Yeah,
that
I
we're
understand that.
Okay, yeah.
Is that a more comfortable description of this?
That's,
Does that give
no,
you a-
I understood that part to start with.
Okay, okay.
It is a
I
little
was under the
confusing.
assumption this was operating and maintenance cost only, not debt services. And now I'm just wondering what the actual operating and maintenance cost per individual home is actually.
Right, and Tom, we've got the forecasted O&M costs, like, in whole.
Yeah.
What we don't have is them broken down individually, which I can see would be, I think, helpful for the discussion, to just
think
have
it would
that
be, yeah.
clarified.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry if I created more confusion.
No, it's
No.
okay. Yeah.
no, I think we're where we need to be now.
If it's not spread out on the whole brand list, if the debt service is only paid by the users, it's the difference between that scenario 1 and scenario 3, which is about $40 a month, and that would be only the users are paying the entire debt service of what, like $800,000 or whatever.
Having 40 users pay that, paying about $1,300 a year. The debt service is a lot more than that for a year.
Return it was 20,000, 20 something.
Is it only 20?
thousand.
Yeah.
Debt service, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yep.
And when you think about the amount of value we're getting with all the federal grants we're getting, like, I mean, $8 million for $16 a month is, or a year.
Right.
I think I'd like to see this better explained, so the public has a better idea of what
Yeah.
is going on as well.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think, it's been good dialogue and questions, so, I think Matt and I and Corey all recognize that here's how we can kind of make it a little bit more black and white.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Okay.
Everybody in agreement on that?
Yeah.
It's a lot more.
I would just add, for me personally, I'm wearing kind of two hats. One as a select board member and one as a potential connector as well. So without any objections, I like being part of the conversation. I don't care to vote on anything necessarily. I don't think that's appropriate, but if my opinion can be part of the conversation, I'm happy to continue that
I would like
discussion.
your opinion is.
I mean, if that sounds
Don't recuse
fair.
yourself from the
No, I
conversation.
think your opinion is fine.
Yeah.
If you're recusing yourself from the vote, you can still talk about it.
Right,
I don't see
if
a problem
that's,
with
if that is fair sounding, then,
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I think-
so with that said, as a potential connector, I'm in a financial position where I don't mind paying the fees, and I really would need this hookup. I have a building that has no septic in town, in the North Village. So I'm kind of in a position where any of these scenarios would be a good option for me, because otherwise I have no option. As a select board member, things that are important to me is, our previous discussions that we've talked about. Didn't sound like the words came from the board necessarily, but, I do like us to, this has been an ongoing process, so I'd like for us to be as consistent as we can. Although, things were said from people that are no longer involved, and my position at this point, I think would be more along the lines, I don't mind the scenario of as townspeople paying for services within the town, that you may not get the full balance for like if you live on a paved road and you're paying for gravel, or, you know, there's things that are not in perfect alignment, but they're all components of town services that we all get to use in different unequal amounts, but as a whole, we're all getting something. So I think there's maybe between, you know, there's my two positions, maybe there's something that's in the middle of the percentages that's fair, or, you know, I think Gary mentioned another time that, you know, these are 0, 50, and 100, and there's a lot of numbers in between those as well, so all of that.
And I'll say there has seemed to be a lot of confusion with everybody here tonight on this, and I'll admit, I was thinking this was just maintenance and fees like that. I thought the bond payment was already on everybody else, so I'll admit my mistake as well.
Can I ask Taylor a question? Is that okay? Is that okay, Taylor?
Yeah.
What year did you acquire that property?
It's been less than 2 years.
So after the discussion of wastewater?
Not with the realization that it would ever go right by there. There was no, I didn't buy the property with any plan or awareness of it being a possibility.
My second question is, what do we do about board members, past and present and future? All board members, committee members in the town of Londonderry, speaking before they know what is really going on. Because Gail Mann is the former chair of the committee. And that is not the only meeting that she has misspoken about this whole system, as well as several other members on that wastewater committee. When is this going to stop? Because her statement, as Tom read, was that it would not be spread across the base. Trevor Dryden asked that question specifically, and she said it would not happen. Yet here we are, and it's happening. It's happening currently today with another board, between two boards. Someone on a board misspoke, and now something else is coming along. I did mention to Tom that I would not bring that up right now, and I'm not going to go any further on that. But we have board members in the town of Londonderry, committee members, working groups, whatever you want to call them, that are speaking out of turn before they really truly know what they're talking about.
I think Gary has already admitted that when that was said, that was not a smart thing to say. I think you've already said that.
I have learned the practice of if I can't answer, then I will say, let me get back to you. And
Like I said,
perhaps
you said
there's,
that way prematurely.
yeah, when was that comment made?
That was 123, or 1923.
Yeah.
That was right after we got, I believe it was the meeting basically directly after we got news of the actual grant.
Right.
So the grant was awarded just before that.
So what does the select board suggest to the rest of the committees in the town? Because
suggest
it's
use
going, it is going to come up at the next select board meeting.
Use candor and don't try not to open your mouth before.
Promises are made and then recanted, and then forgiveness is asked and given. And if these are the board members that we have, then maybe we should think about the board members that we appoint. Acting as experts.
Thank you. I think we've all agreed that we should put this off to the next meeting. So you had your hand up?
Yeah, it's like, it's just, my comment on Gail Mann's comment that she made, she had no right to do that. I don't think that she was speaking for the board. She was She was trying to, but I don't think she had the authority to do it. She's no longer here. She's not even in this town anymore.
It's not the first time that comment's been made, though. Oh, that was the first time, but it's been made since then, and I know it has.
I guess my other comment.
I just couldn't
too,
find
just
proof of it.
about the project, you know, just because I know the people that have signed on and want to do it, I'm one of them.
Yep.
And it's like my system is failing. It will fail. My neighbors is going to fail as well. I've seen systems that, you know, are like draining into the river, were anyway, when I sold their house. And I don't know, it's like, I'm willing to pay, you know, just like Taylor was talking about, to pay to have it serviced and stuff, and it's not gonna be cheap, but it's like, if you think about it, really, it's probably the same cost it's gonna be for like an expensive cable TV a month. And it's like.
If you have
so-
Comcast now, this is a lot less.
So, yeah, I'd like to make
Thank you. So, yeah, if we could get this clarified better, so we have a better understanding as a board and everybody here, and a better understanding for the townspeople, that would be great.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Any
your time.
further comments? Yeah. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
8B, Town Clerk. B1, Approved Social Services Appropriation Policy.
Last month, I just told you that we reworked this, and I have now sent it out to all the places that have, in the last 3 years, applied for social services, and only 2 responded back with questions, and none were negative. They just wanted clarification on what they needed to do go moving forward, so,
I think this is a great step forward for us.
yeah.
Something that's been needed.
And I got a lot of community members that were excited that somebody touched it and changed it and whatever that be, so it's good feedback.
Well, thank you for this.
Yep.
Would you like a motion?
Please.
I move to approve the social service appropriation policy as presented.
Second that.
All those in favor? Aye. 8C, Parks Board, reappointments. Andrew Kubica? I'm sure I... Cubic? Sorry for butchering that one. And Steve Berglinter.
So I heard from Liam that Andrew was not re-upping, so
Okay,
it's just Steve.
just Steve. Anyone care to make that motion?
I move to appoint Steve Bertleitner to Parks Board for terms of 3 years ending on 4/30/2028.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 8D, Conservation Commission, reappointments, Gary Hedman and Steve Schweinberg.
So I did hear back from Gary, but I did not hear back from Steve, so I don't know that he's re-upping or not, so maybe if he's,
I'll make the motion here, Steve.
huh?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, let's just do Steve.
Okay,
Oh,
Or, I mean Gary,
Gary.
yeah. Just,
Your turn, my turn. What do we got?
I just, so
they're saying
I
just
only
do
heard
it
from
with Gary.
Gary, I didn't hear from Steve.
Leave Steve out of the motion until we...
Leave him out?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Stevie. I move to appoint Gary Hedman to the Conservation Commission for a term of 4 years, ending on 5/31/29.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Could you reach back out to Steve?
What's that?
Could you reach back out to Steve
Yeah,
and see if he wants to do
I
it?
don't, I was,
I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to continue.
I'm sure.
I'm sure he
does.
would. That's
I don't want to
willing
throw him on
to
the
do that.
board without,
Right, I just didn't,
No.
yeah, I didn't get confirmation, so,
although it does happen. from time
Hey,
to
that's
time.
my tape.
yeah, I'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9, Transfer Station Solid Waste Management. 9A is updates. The only update I have is we met with an electrical engineer at the transfer station, and he's gonna go over plans so we can have a better idea of what we need to do. And it's still in the works though. And the hazard waste collection at Floodbrook is, I'll mention it again, just
Saturday.
Yeah, 7th.
June 7th?
Yeah, I believe 7th, right?
June 7th, 9 to 1 at Floodbrook School. And if you have not heard yet, we are open on Sundays now, 12 to 4.
How'd that first Sunday go?
Oh, is it done?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I believe Nick said the first Sunday went pretty well.
Yep, I stopped in and saw him. I didn't see him on this last one. Item 10, roads and bridges, 10A's updates. Do you have anything?
Most everything's been mentioned already, some of the grants and things are happening and,
Summer works on going?
yep, there's other RFPs going out.
Just need a little bit more information about the salt shed and then I can send that one out.
One discussion was about the time frame for that, assuming that the budget money is available July 1st. We would probably start it after that and give it a couple months. It's probably only 2 or 3 days worth of work.
Yep. Yeah, anytime after July 1st, that's
That
it.
time frame seems fair. And maybe leave the bids, the time frame for the work to be completed could be open longer, but the bids could be out for 2 weeks or.
Yeah, it's usually, it's good to give them 2 to 3 weeks to bid that.
Yeah.
I assume it's like a $2,500 job, right? So
Well,
what's your
we
estimate?
decided to put it out to bid because it was close to
Yeah.
the threshold, or potentially.
Yeah.
But,
Depending on who we get, could be a little more.
yeah, it might be more competitive, that keeping it less expensive,
You're
but
right.
if we get more people looking at it.
Yeah,
And we didn't put paving bids out yet.
Everett's working on the
Yeah,
paving.
Everett's still working on it. I just wanted to
And-
make sure.
yeah,
I didn't
and,
think I saw anything yet.
I think we had determined that our goal is to keep pushing those dates earlier and earlier. This year might be a little bit ahead of last year, and
Yeah.
hopefully next year's a little bit ahead.
Another month ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
When we
that is
have
in-
those dates, I need to email Megan Brunk because they do the road striping.
Yeah.
So we want to coordinate that so that they do it after the paving and not before.
Yep.
Did we end up, were we able to postpone the additional funding for the striping on Thompsonburg?
Are you talking about the side striping? I think we're still eligible for that.
I think this is the last year.
Yeah.
I think we postponed it last year.
Well, you
if-
didn't
Because we
get
couldn't get a
it.
bid.
You didn't get a bid, so I was supposed to meet
That's
up with,
good.
I was supposed to talk to Shane about that.
It's a good pickup there. Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's about it. There's another, sometimes the highway access permits are in this section, but I do see it down further.
I can
so,
put them there in the future, but,
If,
Yeah, that's usually where we put them.
Okay.
Yeah, not a
but
good
this,
catch.
there is an access permit in new business
Yeah.
coming up, so.
Perfect. Item 11, old business. 11A, discuss change of venue for select board meetings.
let's do it.
I think we can do it. At least I'm gonna tell Chris tomorrow that we're moving in on 2 weeks. We're gonna have a meeting.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's-
the
Right now,
biggest thing
it's
is there's a
all-
bunch of junk in that room.
It's
but-
mechanical room stuff really that's going on.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Most of the HVAC systems is still being worked on, but
Yeah.
that's really it.
Yeah, and hopefully by then they'll have
Yeah.
done all
Hopefully it'll be
that.
done,
All
the
we,
interior.
Yeah.
all we need to do is, and I'm sure Josh and me can do it in the road crew quick, is get the chairs and table out of the storage unit and get these chairs over there and we're ready to go.
And one of the storage units was already moved down below, right?
The other one doesn't have to move, not, at least not before paving. It
Yeah,
can
they
stay
can-
there for now, it will move eventually. but
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's still got, it's gonna have a lot of office stuff
It
in
still
it for
has
a
stuff
while
in it, I
that's
think.
gonna be slowly gone through. A lot of old paperwork that
Yes, it's
they're
literally
gonna have to look through case
one
by
through one,
case.
like one hand, eyes have to be on it, every single piece
Yeah.
and organized and retained
that'll
or
take a
shredded
while.
or whatnot, so.
And there is a location for that second unit once it's no longer
Yes.
in use, and it'll be down by the old salt shed
Yeah.
at the town garage.
And once the building is ours, then the company gonna come in to do the long-term storage, which some of that paperwork that's in that unit will then live. So it's kind of, I can't go,
Order of operations.
yeah, one foot in front of the other.
No hurry, but at least
Yeah,
there's a plan.
there's a
for
plan.
it.
And I didn't have when I saw Hunter at the transfer station at one point, I didn't get an exact date on when paving would happen, but he was thinking it
Nestor
was pretty
stopped
soon.
in today, and he's gonna try to coordinate, he thought, 2 weeks. But he was gonna give a final date so that we could be not open and but, he thought about 2 weeks.
Because the parking lot is a little dirty right now.
It's a little bit, yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's real rough.
And just as a side note to that, that will include Old School Street as a secondary project for.
Yeah, the culverts that are under the road there?
Yeah, I think there's 2 culverts, the one on top by you and one down low, right?
Those
Those
are
gonna be
part of the
replaced.
project.
That is part of it.
Yep.
Cool.
Just replacement, not addition of anything, but replacement of the failed ones.
All right, well, anyone care to make the motion and move back into our old home?
I will make that motion gladly. I move to hold regular meetings of the Select Board on the first and third Mondays of the month at 6 p.m. at the town office at 100 Old School Street in South Londonderry, beginning at our next regularly scheduled meeting of June 2, 2025, or at the discretion of the Select Board Chair, and as permitted by applicable law, meetings may be held without a physical presence using publicly available remote meeting software.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If you haven't seen it yet,
You gotta
stop
go
and
in.
Take a look, it's a
Yeah,
lot
it's really-
different.
It's really awesome.
I should have asked in between the motion, but is this last bit where it says meetings may be held without a physical presence using publicly available remote meeting software, a new ad, or is that typically in there?
That was part of your original motion in March, so I just left it in there.
Ah,
And that was part of, that came out of the COVID too.
Yeah.
Right.
If there's an emergency, you can have a meeting without a physical presence.
Right.
But it has to be an emergency.
Got it, thank you.
And 11B, town office, consider change orders.
Is there anything in the packet for that?
Yeah,
There was.
no, they're in your physical packet. Did I manage to put them in the?
I saw them in
didn't
there.
see
You didn't
them.
put the page down, but I did see them.
It was a last minute addition, so there weren't any pages on it. Let me see if I can.
Is it after the stormwater report?
Yeah, it must
Before
be.
the bar
After the
access,
map.
a bar.
I got it on, it doesn't have a page yet.
Yeah, it doesn't have a page number. It's after the map for the stormwater thing. After the, straight after.
Oh,
that.
yeah, I see.
I was at a conference last week, and so things were happening remotely on Friday, and I didn't get these in on time. So one is one is to assemble the desks. That's order 46. That's $400. And I guess according to the policy, I can approve that myself. But the other one is the PCO 5, which is replacing the 6-inch parking lot sub base. And
I can speak to that some.
yeah,
if
I
you'd
can't
like.
remember exactly what that was.
So originally, the engineer told us we needed to do a section of the parking lot with subbase. And after consideration, we said there's no point in just doing one section, we should just do the whole thing.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It really was never done properly.
Why do one little section? Just do the whole thing and have the parking lot that's done right. That way in the future, you don't have, for instance, maybe a tree stump going up like Stratton's golf course always does. So that's the main thing there. We just thought it was the best going forward.
I'm happy to move it.
Sounds good.
I move to authorize change orders for the town office renovation project as follows. 1, to replace parking lot sub-base at a cost of $16,675. And 2, to authorize the town administrator to execute any documents necessary to implement these changes. Wait a minute, wasn't there a second change order, or do they both
The
add
second
to
one
16?
is,
The second one was
is the-
so low that
it's the $400.
It's 400, okay.
It was
anyone
to
can
assemble the
that.
furniture
Got
that,
it, got it. Yep.
they did most of it, I finished it off.
Yep,
Yeah.
done, okay.
They did the hard part.
Yep, moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item 12, new business. 12A, naming the new select board room.
Tina and myself had discussed about naming the select board room the John Morris Room, as that was his classroom when he was a teacher there. He recently passed. Thought it was he's been a long time Londonderry resident, so I thought it was a nice gesture. We're working on naming the downstairs one as well at some point. We just don't know which teacher had, because the rooms aren't the same from when, so kind of whose classroom was where. We're still trying to figure that out, but
I think that's an excellent name for that room.
yeah, I thought it was a really nice gesture too.
I think that's appropriate for,
He had quite the impact on the community for many years.
Yes, he did.
Say again, please?
John Morris had quite the impact on the community for many years.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Taught a lot of us.
Yeah, he was a long-time teacher, and didn't he go to custodian after he taught?
He did. He's
Yeah,
custodian
yeah,
when I was in
at-
school.
Yeah, at that Floodbrook, so.
I
Wasn't
know
actually my
somebody
teacher,
in
but he
their
taught when I was
mid-70s
taught my
that was
parents.
his
I went to
8th
Long
grade
Trail.
student, so he's been doing it for a while.
Yes, he was, yep.
I still call him Mr. Morris up until the day he died. Never dared to call him John.
No, it didn't seem right.
No, it just didn't seem.
Anyone care to make a motion for that one? We don't have one written out, but
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty simple one.
I would make a motion to name the new select board room after John Morse.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
We'll look into getting a sign.
Moving on to 12B, discuss stormwater master plan. So I don't know if you've all been able to take a look at it. I believe the last thing they said was just let us know what projects you want to go through with and we will look for funding.
yeah.
It's not really anything that we have to do much of anything for.
Right. So there were four projects?
Yeah, 2 that directly are on town property, I believe it was. One is at Pingree Park. It's over by the second ball field, kind of going down towards the T-ball field. And we did talk to them about road access, getting to the T-ball field and everything.
Down there,
And they just want to put in a little drainage type of thing down there. Second one on town property would be at the town garage, just towards the road from basically where the culverts and stuff are. They want to put in a little catch basin there.
Oh, okay.
Then one,
That's the other side.
I gotta look again.
Williams,
That's great.
Williams Park.
Oh, yeah, there was 3 then. Williams Park. Well,
Williams?
That's
or
kind of-
Pingree?
no,
There's
Williams.
one at Pingree and one
There's
at
one in
Williams.
Williams and one at Pingree.
And that one is kind of 50-50, whether or not it would be on town property or the Mills property, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the lines are there.
Yeah.
I did go look.
I don't know if anybody knows that, but it's been said it's the end of the parking area, but
If it's the end of the parking area, then I think it would be on Ed's property, way they were looking when I was with them.
I think the problem is that the actual stormwater has changed the edge of the parking lot over time. So-
You can go there and it's
You
very
can see
clear
where
where
it
the
is.
water
Yeah.
goes.
Right, yeah.
There's a culvert that comes out at the end of the driveway. You can see where, the water
And there's a little
goes.
wash spot right on that
Yeah.
driveway that you can tell where the water goes in.
The water used to run down from up by your folks' house on, going down would be on the left-hand side of the road, and something's happened. Now all the water comes around to the other side of the road and just floods me out.
It's from the end, the bells. They removed a bunch of trees, and now it comes right down. It changed the direction on that old school street.
Hey, I'd like to say something. It's 78 degrees downstairs, and the furnace is still running, and the door is shut. Can we shut it down somehow?
Are you
And save
warm
a
enough
buck?
here? I mean,
We turned it on.
we turn it
today
on because of this
To
room,
heat this room up some.
and there's
It
a
heats that
shut
room
off.
up a lot more than
Yeah.
up here.
There's a
so
shut off, but it
It's
doesn't.
just because of today.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
turn it on.
I feel much better.
Yeah, we'll turn it off when we leave.
It does
And-
get really hot down there when they're trying to heat up upstairs.
And the fourth location that they were looking to do something which wouldn't really have much to do with the town is by the credit union, going down to River Street.
Steep bank.
So it is just to keep nutrients and everything, the runoff, from really getting into the river. I don't see any downside in letting the state go for grants for all of them.
So the state actually does the grant seeking, if you will?
I don't
That's
know.
my understanding.
Is that, okay.
That was my understanding. I think they said, let us know if you want to proceed and we'll look for grants.
Okay.
My understanding with the whole start of this project was we wouldn't really be too involved, besides saying, go ahead.
I would say
Well,
carry
then
on.
I
Is
will
this
reach
another
back out
one
to the
by
state.
Transfer station?
Oh, yeah, there was one by the transfer station. There was 5, wasn't there? We should have had the maps out. The transfer station one was, what's that map again? Transfer station, that's down by Leaf and Yard, I believe. That's 2, that's
It
Leaf and
was
Yard.
it was where,
That's down by the
wasn't it where
burn.
brush usually gets
Yeah, there's
placed?
one by Burning, and then this one, I think they put it in red, so they might have decided to get rid of that one. But yeah, they were looking down by the Leaf and Yard, kind of, and then over by the burn pile. They weren't, from what I remember, they weren't too positive on what they could do there, so.
I mean, does the board have a preference on which one you pursue first? Or do you just want me to reach out to the state and see if they'll,
Well, they have one in green and they have one in red for the transfer station, so I'm assuming the one in red for the transfer station. And from what I remember, the talk was that probably wasn't much to do there.
okay. I
But
don't remember that one very
I'd say
well.
give them the go-ahead.
Okay,
When we went over everything, I was there with them and they knew we travel down here. This is cap landfill. They were under the understanding of everything.
That's Purdy Park and then North Main Street.
So I will make a stab at the motion for that one. I move to authorize the town administrator to let the state know that they can pursue all stormwater projects they've given us.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
12C, approve highway access permit. Why is it barred?
it's BARR.
Oh,
I've
okay.
left off an R.
Gotcha. Threw me off a little bit. Did you want to put a restriction on this one?
Well, Josh did go out and talk with her, with Capucine about her intentions. She has the application here. This didn't exist when they met, so Josh and I talked a little bit, and I had told him prior to him meeting that my only concern was not interfering with the mailboxes and cars getting off from Route 11 onto Little Lake Road. So the proposed area is between Route 11 and the mailboxes, and beyond there, there's a steep bank that goes down to, this is all property owned by the applicant. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the application. My concern would be if this becomes a popular place of business, that there may be some parking that could potentially, if left patrolled or whatever, that people trying to get off the highway onto Lower Lake Road, if they turn onto the road and there's a car parked right there, or people waiting to get to their own mailbox, or even delivering mail, may interfere with people stopping to.
That's not truly related to the access permit, because the access permit's just to put in a temporary access to get a shed. But I understand where you're going with it.
Right, so my concern sort of would relay to the future use of the shed, not necessarily the access permit. So I think whether it's a condition of the permit, I just want to make it,
Yeah.
you know, or make my point that I just would caution that it didn't interfere with other traffic or access to the mailboxes.
To me, it kind of sounds like Will should do that through zoning.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah, and he and I did talk about it, and I expressed the same, that was my one and only concern. I think that the rest of it is a great idea. It describes in the access permit to create a temporary access road to upper back tree line for the farm stand delivery truck to place the shed. So as you mentioned, this access permit does not approve the use of the shed necessarily, just the delivery of the shed.
The zoning
Right.
of the use.
Yeah, so in keeping with that, I don't see any problem with approving this as it is.
Anyone care to make that motion?
Sure. I move to approve access permit application number 2025-01 submitted by Cappuccini and Sabrina Barr for a new highway access to their parcel located on the east 318 Old Sawmill Road, and authorize the chair to sign the permit on behalf of the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 12D, approve first and third class liquor license for Upper Tamarack Incorporated, Upper Pass Lodge.
I move to approve a first and third class liquor license for Upper Tamarack Inc. Incorporated related to property located at 420 Magic Mountain Access Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
12E, approve first and third class liquor license and outdoor consumption permit for Smith Food Service Hospitality Entertainment, LLC, Revival Kitchen.
I'll make that. I move to approve first and third class liquor license and an outdoor consumption permit for Smith's Food Service Hospitality and Entertainment, LLC, related to property located at 3928 Vermont Route 11.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, you haven't had it for a while, Jim, you wanna take it?
I move to adjourn. Where'd everybody go? I move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Oh, it's good to be back. Huh?
Pause the recording, I'm not gonna change it.
I purposely did not go into the town office from the time they
Did
started
it stop or not?
until today. And
Well, I
I'm so
have it
glad
here,
I
so
waited
I'm
to
gonna
the
hit
end.
stop.
It was just an amazing,
didn't wanna mess it up.
amazing
Yeah, thank you.